So
So how are you? How's your day?
pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah. So in preparation for our episode today, I was looking through old photos because I was hoping to find a picture of, or some pictures from my first deal.
Mhm.
We took a ton of pictures when that happened, and Facebook land will hear in a little while why I took so many pictures of this property, but I'm bummed because I think that was like 2 phones ago. And so it's not actually in my Google Photos.
Yeah,
So y'all are just going to have to use your imagination when I tell the story um,
I
about what I
yeah.
saw.
I do kind of remember, like now when you mention it, now I kind of remember that because we were all together at that point. So
Yes. Yeah.
it was fun to go in. I mean, at least you went into your property. I didn't even see my property.
Really?
I peeked, yeah, I peeked through the window and then went and spoke to him at his home where he lived. So yeah, never saw it. Never went inside. I think Henrik and John did, but not I.
That's crazy.
I know it's weird. It's really my story is a little funny, so it'll be fun.
Awesome. So we are here today with this episode to talk about our first deals. We were talking about what kind of things would be interesting to go over, what kind of stuff would people want to hear about. And we see in a lot of the like real estate groups and stuff that we're in, right? That when new people come in, they are always asking about what kind of deals other people do.
Yeah,
And they want to get like an idea, right? Of what does it look like when they're still kind of trying to wrap their head around how all of this works. And so we thought, well, that would be a really good thing to kind of start with to give people an idea, because I think it does a few things. So it kind of, for new people, it kind of gives them an idea of how many different kinds of things you might see, what what things could look like, because I think everybody's first deal, I mean, all of everybody's deals are like totally different all the time.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so yeah, so that is what we are here to discuss today. And I'm live on the How to Deal page, and I'm live on my page. And so if we have viewers that want to ask questions, type them in the comments, and hopefully I'll be able to see them, because sometimes Facebook is wonky about that, but I'll be keeping an eye out.
Yes. And last time I know we talked about a giveaway, but I'm not sure if people either they didn't want to or they didn't hear about it, but there is a giveaway, so stay tuned to the end of the video.
Yes, we will announce that again. And yeah, we're trying to give y'all stuff. Come on now.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, Ange. So I am going to say, why don't you start telling us about your first deal?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so should we maybe give a little bit of a background about where we started or how we even found this deal? You know what I mean? Like with Saha.
Yes, please do.
Okay.
Tell
So which, total transparency. So I work for Saha Group LLC, Saha House, Arizona. And I didn't work for them before, obviously. I was just a wholesaler for them, a door knocker. And Lisa can talk about her experience when she talks about her first wholesale. So when I started door knocking, I did it part-time. I did have a full-time job at the time. I worked for one of the foundations in Phoenix, and I did things on the weekend. And it was my second time out. Saha would provide us a list of properties where we would literally map it out on like MapQuest or Google Maps. MapQuest, where did that come from?
that came from 1992.
I know. I'm like, does anybody still use MapQuest? But I don't judge. So, anyways, we used to use Google Maps, and I know we used to use another application. What was that website? I'm drawing a blank.
Oh, what was it called? Batch Geo.
Batch Geo, that's right.
Yeah.
Batch Geo was like heaven for us because we would map out all of our drives. So this particular Saturday, it was right after one of our property tours for our real estate investor group. And Henrik had already been out. And actually, Henrik's wholesaling history is different from mine. So I hope at one point we get to have him on and he can kind of tell what happened on his first day out. But my second day out, I went to a property. It was over in the Maryville area, a little condo, two-story condo. And it looked abandoned, you know, and kind of the things that we're told, you know, there might be people in there or they might not be people in there. They kind of train you a little bit on what to say. But I had literally not been with any of the seasoned door knockers up to this point. So I was like flying by the seat of my pants. It was like, knock on the door, you introduce yourself, and you start talking about the property. So I was sort of prepared. Nobody was there, and I remember thinking, thank goodness nobody's here. And then Henrik says, well, this is where the owner lives, so we should go to his house. And I thought to myself, like, oh God, do we really need to go? Can we just make a little note and say that it's vacant, you know, and come back another time? Because it was really still very new to me, and it was weird. You know, I felt odd about the whole thing. So we get to his house, which was actually maybe a few blocks west of that property. And I park in front of his house, and we'll call him Jose for, you know, lack of a better name. And he was outside with his little parakeet, and his little parakeet was like walking around on the sidewalk, and he was like walking around with him. And then they both walked back to the door. It was really, and I thought, okay, well, he can't be that bad if he has like a parakeet for a pet. So I'm gonna talk to him. I went up to him, and immediately I realized he does not speak English, which was, I thought, oh, another plus for me, right? I speak Spanish. So I asked him, I introduced myself, and I literally, without any kind of, you know, how should I say? I was all over the place. I wasn't suave about the thing at all. Everything that they told me to say went out the window. All I said was, you have a condo and it's vacant, I think, and do you want to sell it? he looked at me like, the hell are you, one? And how could I even sell it? So when he said that, I automatically went into like, because Henrik had been out before, so he kind of helped me out. Like, I was translating what Jose was asking, so that Henrik would tell me, well, you need to let him know that he does have the opportunity to sell his home before it hits, you know, foreclosure auction. So I let the gentleman know that. He didn't believe me. It was like this back and forth. So we finally, I said, I can't, I would feel more comfortable if we brought in someone else from the office, which was John, and he can talk to you about the whole process, and we can see what we could do. But you know, you shouldn't let go of a property where you definitely have some equity and you could get something out of it. Just don't lose it.
Yeah.
And he understood that, and I think at that moment he still wasn't very. He didn't believe me. He was a little, you know, off put like about the whole thing. So we left, came back the next day, more coaching from John. And I let him know that, you know, this is for real. This is the paperwork. Went through the whole thing. And this is where I really started to learn. And I think it's a big thing for us to take away is that your first deal is going to be all over the place, and you're going to have to just kind of go with it. And as people tell you what to do and what to say and what to present, paperwork, whatever it is, you'll start to kind of get a feeling for it, and then you understand it. So it gets easier as you go. So I understood then that you needed to show, it's good to show the notice of trustee sale, which he had received, but of course he spoke Spanish, so he didn't really know what it said.
Right.
So I translated that. There was a lot of little things that I realized that within the Latino community, we don't prepare people for this, obviously. So I learned a lot in this deal about just the customer service, the fact that I needed to explain everything to detail and make sure that that person trusted me. And I think that's the biggest thing for us, is building the trust in the relationship with the seller. Yes. And also making them feel human. Like, this can happen to anybody. Yeah. You might lose a property at some point in your life. We don't know. And it's okay. Like, there's other options you have, and there's other avenues you can take so that you don't lose out on everything. Right. Run through it. So the first couple of weeks of, talking to the bank and the trustees and what's the payoff, blah, blah, blah. There's this guy, I'm not going to mention any names, but he decided that his company was going to call Jose consistently for a few days. And Jose didn't tell me this. So all of a sudden I get a call from Jose telling me if we were real and we're really going to close on his property.
So was this another wholesaler that was contacting him? Okay.
So it was another wholesaler. We know who he is. So he has a reputation for calling your folks when they're under contract, and they try to kind of tell them, they lie to them basically, or they scare the seller so that the seller then decides, okay, I don't want to work with you. I want to work with them instead. And I remember I was really thrown by that, because I thought, why would anybody do that? Right? I wouldn't do that. Right. Well, this person did. And it wasn't only him that was calling him, it was his office. There was a girl that was calling him and another guy that was calling him. So John no. And John said, we need that number. We need that phone number right now. When Jose finally fessed up and told me everything, what he was being told, and the phone number, and we actually paid him out a little bit of his profit, so he knew that we were serious, that we were going to close on his property. I handed the phone number over to John, and John went off. All I remember was you stay away from my fucking client, on and on, and kind of this, John. But it was great, and I thought, wow, that's so very liberating, that I am able to, if that happened to me again, then go ahead and call that person and say, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Lay off.
Right.
No. So
to the world of wholesaling.
Yeah. So it's not only the adventure of, going up to the door and talking to the seller. You don't know what kind of a seller it's going to be, but it's what happens in the middle. Sometimes it's the bank, sometimes it's another wholesaler that's trying to take your sale. And it's weird how you get super defensive about these people. All of a sudden they're your kid, and you're hell no, you get away from here. You don't even look this way kind of, feeling.
I think we could do an episode on that, don't you think? On that part of how wholesaling is as a business. Yeah.
How awful. And it's almost I felt they were trying to kidnap somebody from me. And I was absolutely it was my motherly instincts came over me, and I was step off. Seriously, I'm gonna beat you. So needless to say, it all went fine. That guy never called again, nor his office. Jose made sure to tell me if anything else was, happening that was weird. And I remember I worked on, it was a commission at that point. I think we made $1,000 that wholesale, Henrik and I, or $700, something like that. But it literally was I got it in a matter of days. I went on a Saturday. By Monday, we were signed contract. And then a couple of weeks later, we closed. So super fast, easy. it's never going to be like that ever.
You say, wow, on your first deal, fast and easy.
Yeah, I totally lucked out. Other than the fact that somebody was trying to steal them from me, yeah, no, everything else worked out really, really well. But yeah, it was interesting. And then after that, I made sure to tell every one of my clients when I went up to them, if anybody calls you that is not Angie, no, like that is a no, unless I tell you somebody's calling you by name who it is, or it's me, then it's okay. Other than that, you need to let me know like ASAP, get the phone number, and I'm on it. Because it's happened, like it happened a couple of other times, and yeah,
Yep.
we can go over that later. But yeah, but that was me. That was my deal.
So, wow. So there were a lot of learning experiences in there. So there was the learning. Well, so first there was learning that you had a unique skill set because you spoke Spanish.
Right.
And that's been huge, you know, because you've helped me with deals. So that was awesome. So you got to learn that wholesaling is the Wild West.
Yes.
And people try to hijack your deals.
Yeah.
So this is a very important point I would like to highlight because anybody who's watching, so it's pretty common for people who want to become real estate investors to get into wholesaling first, because you know you can do it more or less without capital, right? And you know you're going direct to seller, and you can do faster transactions. So there's a lot of reasons that people feel like wholesaling is a good entry point. But some of the things that don't get discussed about wholesaling are how cutthroat it can be and how many wholesalers in our particular market operate. So you got to learn that hands-on.
Yeah, first time. And I thought never again, right? Because once you get that like taste, then you're super uber prepared for the next time that that happens.
Yeah. And then I think probably it would, because I had a similar experience too, learning that having, working with somebody and having a team. So, both of us were mentored by John. And when you run into something like that and someone with experience can take the reins and and come in and show you how it's done, because I think for both of us coming from a professional background, it doesn't really occur to you to pick up the phone and tell somebody what's what, because you're not really supposed to do that in an office job. So watching John take the reins and do that, because he's done that on a couple of my deals too. But you learn what you have to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember talking to John and Paul about it, and John was like, "What? Who? What?" And I'm thinking, to me, this is all new. To them, it's, every day kind of, this is what happened because they were there. Obviously, they have more experience. But yeah, that was, and to this day, and I tell to when you go out there, you make sure that they talk to you and you only. Nobody else. Because even people you trust sometimes, we've seen some things. So yeah.
Things.
But it was fun. It was fun. And the fact that he had a parakeet, like cute little parakeet, it was just really cute. So
would you say that because this deal being your first deal it happened to be that it was someone who owned a second property that was vacant, and that was the property in foreclosure, that maybe made it a little bit easier than having to talk to a seller actively in foreclosure that was living in the property at the time?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. It alleviated a lot of pressure. I mean, he had no idea. He was just going to let it go according to his plan. It wasn't even trying to pursue something. But I don't think they really understood the foreclosure process either, though, because they knew that something was wrong and that it was almost like, I don't know anything about foreclosure, so I'm just going to hide and just pretend it's like, it'll just go away, which it really doesn't. Like, it affects your credit. And once I said that and he got that and his family understood, they were more keen on doing something about it.
Right.
So, but yeah, definitely it's a lot easier when the property isn't. Unlike, I think what you will share is a little harder in regards to dealing with folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's something that I've been saying in a lot of the like Facebook groups that I belong to that are about wholesaling. When new people come in and ask, I would say it's almost like on a daily basis. The new people come in and say, I'm new to wholesaling. What do I do? How do I talk to people in foreclosure? And I'm always going in and saying, you know, you might want to start with something a little bit easier if you're brand new. You might want to start with vacant properties because there's a lot less sort of, and that's not to say that vacant properties can't be in foreclosure, but if someone loses a vacant property that's dilapidated and, you know, such,
Right.
not seeing it, they're not perceiving it as the same type of loss as if it was like their home that they're living in, you know. And also people tend to be a little bit more open to the idea, like maybe they think that they couldn't get any money out of that property anyway because maybe it's like really, you know, it's been vacant for a long time and it's in really bad condition.
Right.
So it's easier to have that conversation because like once people realize that like no, there's still value in it, and if you don't think you can fix it up and do something with it, like exactly, why let it ruin your credit? Would you rather do this instead? That's a way easier conversation for a new person than the conversation about you live in the property and I'm trying to give you a, you know, lifesaver here, basically. That's a whole nother thing. So
Yeah.
little
Absolutely.
bit of a blessing, I would say, maybe that the first deal happened to be a vacant.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that he spoke Spanish. Because once you have that, I feel like once if you have something in common in language, that's a massive thing. I mean, that says a lot, you know, who you are gonna work with. So it helped me out a ton. Thank goodness for being bilingual and thank goodness for it being vacant. And he was just a really nice man. His family was awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So not so bad. Not a total, not a completely crazy.
No, aside from the idiot that tried to take it, I mean, everything else was really good.
Oh, that's awesome. So I would say that my first deal was a little more complicated than that. Actually, so technically, I'm gonna tell you guys about the first deal that I negotiated, but we weren't even able to close it, and I'll tell you why shortly. So my first deal was also a vacant property, and at first we weren't sure why it was vacant. We had to do some research, and we got there and we saw, you know, we saw that it was obviously vacant. It had some windows that were boarded up and things like that. And so the first thing, you know, that I was instructed to do by our mentors was go talk to the neighbors and see what information I could get. And one of the neighbors had known the family that lived there for a really long time. And so he said, you know, okay, yeah, this lady had owned the property, and at one point her health was starting to become problematic, and she was diagnosed with MS, and she moved her son in to help care for her. And at that point in time, her son he had some criminal issues, shall we say, coming in. And he was there taking care of mom, and he brought his business with him into
His business.
business. And so what ended up happening was that because he was doing business outside of the house, the police.
What was this business though?
His business was to make and sell methamphetamine.
Ah,
yes.
That business.
We know a little bit about that business.
Yeah.
So the police obviously got wind of what was happening. They came and raided the place and found the lab and took him to jail. And by this time, because this had been a number of years that he was taking care of his mom, and by this time she was no longer able to like be in the house on her own. She had become wheelchair bound. And so the state essentially was like, we can't leave you here alone, or your caretaker's going to jail. That's the beginning and the end of it. So she was placed in a state-run facility for folks with chronic disease or care, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, the neighbor knew where she was. He knew the son's girlfriend, and he said, "Look, I know that the son is in jail, and I don't, who knows where he's at, because something that I've learned in real estate, that when somebody goes to jail, they move them around all the time, so they're not real easy to find necessarily.
Right.
You don't just like one place and that's where you stay." So he was like, I think this was the son's girlfriend's name. She comes and checks on the house every once in a while, and I'm sure that she goes and checks on the mom. So when we were able to get that information, we were able to track down the girlfriend, and we were able to get permission to go talk to the homeowner, the mom, in this facility. So that's the first really interesting piece. Now, I've never been in a state-run assisted living facility before. I can tell you that it's not a pretty place.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not family members, so we had to get permission from a family member to go and talk with her. And so we were able to do that through she wasn't technically the daughter-in-law, but she was a frequent visitor to the mom. And so the facility did let us in, and we went and spoke with her. And so she was in a position where she was wheelchair bound, but still completely, lucid in terms of mental health.
Yeah.
So she was like, "Why are you here?" And so I explained what was happening with the house. And this whole thing was weird from start to finish, because there were a lot of things that were really sad, and there were a lot of things that were really funny. So we're in this terrible rundown facility that I just can't believe that they have people in. And I'm looking around going, this is awful, and this poor woman doesn't know who I am. And she's like, "Somebody new came to visit me. Like, who are you and what do you want?"
Right.
And so I said, look, I'm just going to break some bad news to you. I'm sorry, but the reason I'm here is that your house is actually in foreclosure. And I know your son is in jail right now, so he can't do anything to help. And, we wanted to see what we could do. If you'd be interested in selling the property, there's equity in it. And, potentially that could help whatever your financial situation is. And so the first thing she did was look at me, and she said, so now this is my first interaction with her, and I'm not entirely sure how lucid she is, and I don't got her on medication. Like, I know nothing. I am by the seat of my pants at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't know. I know, maybe they actually let you in.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't really know if she even understands what I'm saying, but we're going to try to have this conversation and see where it goes, because she's the owner. What else am I going to do?
Yeah.
So I say to her, that the property is in foreclosure. I'm really sorry to have to tell you that, but this is what it is. This is how much time you have. And the first thing she does is look at me, and she goes, "Foreclosure?" And I said, "Yeah." And I'm thinking like, oh, maybe I don't know where she's at. Maybe she doesn't know what it means. And she goes, "Oh shit." And I was like, okay, she knows. And so then the second thing she did, she looks at me for a minute, and she goes, "Okay, how much time is there?" And I told her, and she just nodded her head, and she said, "Is there any way you could sneak any pot in here to me?"
What? Oh my
I
God.
kind of need it for this.
That's awesome. Good for her.
I don't think I could do that. I would love to try to accommodate you, but I don't think that we're going to be able
No.
that happen. Is there something else I could do? So at that point, I knew that she fully understood everything that was going on. And so she said, yeah, she said, "My son's in jail." She said, "He's not getting out for another 3 years."
Mhm.
And she said, you know, I thought his girlfriend was taking care of the place. And so I kind of explained, and, you know, she said, okay. And she said, well, you know, they're not going to let me out of here as long as there's no one to take care of me, you know.
Right.
And he said, my son's girlfriend, I can't expect her to stick around for 3 years until he gets out of jail. Like, she's got to do what she needs to do. So I can't go live with her. And there's my dog flipping out about Amazon. um, so, you know, she says, you know, I don't see what else we can do. But she said, if I sell the property, she said, can your company arrange it so that you can put some of the money in my son's commissary account at the jail? And I
Oh,
was like,
wow.
yeah, you know, we can, however you want us to set up the funds, we'll do whatever you want us to do. So if you can give me instructions on how to do that. And her whole thing was, you know, I just want him to be taken care of. And she said, if we could put some of it away until after he gets out and then give him some of it, then you know, I've done everything that I can do. And
Yeah.
so she basically said, bring me whatever I need to sign, and we'll go from there. And I said, okay, great. So here I am thinking, we're going to be able to do this. And so, and I told her at the time, I said, okay, so the next thing that we need to do so that we can get a price for you on the property is I need to see the inside. Can I get your permission to enter? And so she said, sure. And she said, and at that point she said, well, the police raided it. I'm pretty sure the back is still open. I don't think they ever locked
Yeah.
it. So
Wow.
we went down to the property to do our assessment so we could put contracts together.
Mhm.
This comes to why I wanted to have pictures to screen share with you guys, and I'm bummed that I don't. So the house is a little weird. When we walked in, we could tell that there used to be a carport. And usually they'll convert that into a garage, or they'll convert it into a bedroom when they convert
Right.
the carport. And this was like really weird when we walked in. Like, the inside and the outside didn't match for what they did construction wise, but you know, we see home construction jobs all the time and they're weird.
Right. Yeah.
So at first we didn't think anything of it. We're just walking through the house taking pictures, and you could kind of see where it was, you know, it was a mess, where the police had come in and raided. Like, they had, you know, they'd emptied out all the drawers. Like, the kitchen drawers were on the ground, you know, with all the
Yeah.
tools and stuff falling out of them. All the cabinets were open, blah, blah, blah. And so we're walking around, we're taking our pictures, we're assessing the damage. And we're right next to where they enclosed the carport space. And they had built an extra bathroom, tiny, like a powder room, actually. It didn't have a shower. It was only a 2-piece bathroom. And we're standing in there, and we're there with our other mentor, Paul. And he's looking around because he's done some construction. And he's like, I can't figure out what they did here. This is weird. And this is where it turns into like an episode of Scooby-Doo. I literally put my hand on the wall next to the pedestal sink, just to like rest on it as we're having the conversation, and the wall moved. And I was like, and Paul was like, what is that? And I'm going, oh. And Paul goes, push it. And I push it open, and it was the meth lab. It was the hidden lab.
Interesting. Wow.
Behind the bathroom. And they had built the wall, so they had done it from the other side so that you couldn't see hinges, and there was no like doorway. You just pushed on it and it pushed open into the lab. And we were like, what in the hell is this? Because we've seen anything like this before. And then we walk in, and you see that it's very obvious, you know, what kind of things that they were doing in there based on the stuff that the police left behind. And they had spray painted all over on every single wall in several areas. Absolutely no smoking. Okay.
That they care about. Wow.
Right. Well, because they didn't want to blow up.
Exactly. I know. Which is so funny to me, right? Like, that is here's a meth lab, but let's be, you know, cautious about this.
So that was our first experience in a meth lab. And so right away, so the first thing Daniel says once, you know, so Daniel is my life/business partner, for those of you who don't know me. And so Daniel is in there with me because we're both in on this deal. And I'm not even thinking about it because I'm so fascinated by what's going on and I've never seen anything like this before. And Daniel goes, aren't these like toxic? I don't think we should.
Yeah, I know.
A little bit because I was like, wait, it's toxic? Wait, what? And that was when Paul had an opportunity to educate us that environmental services had already been in and cleaned things up, and this was how he could tell that they had done this, and blah, 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 and that it's a state requirement when someone gets arrested for producing that they have to come in and clean it out. So we were not in any harm being in the lab. And so I wish I had been able to find the pictures of this.
Yeah, that would have been, I just like the whole like bathroom secret door.
It was the craziest thing. And so we actually had the conversation with Paul, like, so if we just bought this property and rehabbed it, like, would we keep the secret door? What would we turn the meth lab into? Like, how would you do this?
Would we keep the secret door? That's funny. You have a tendency of like touching something and then it just falls apart. You did that on another property, which we'll talk about another time, but it's kind of funny. I'm like, don't touch it, Lisa. It's gonna fall over.
Yeah, totally. So there's so many weird things, you know, and I mean, I'm brand new to this niche of real estate. So, you know, when I think about buying houses, I think about buying a regular old house, you know, and now I find myself in this property and learning all about how you make assessments for how much you should pay for it based on the condition and how much work needs to be done and all of those things. And something else that was really funny about this property, like we see so many things that just don't make sense, right?
Right.
So like the meth lab was one thing, and there was an exit door out to the backyard. And so we go out to the backyard, and very clearly there used to be a pool in the backyard that now for some reason was full of tires. Why tires? I don't know, but completely full to the top. And it was like, this was an old house that was built in the 70s. So it was a diving pool. You know, this was before they started doing like the pools like they do here in Phoenix. So this was like, it had to be 9 or 10 feet deep. It was full to the top of tires. And we couldn't figure out why that would be the case. But it was. And, you know, so then Paul had to explain to us like, well, we have to kind of discount from the price that we would pay, because we're either going to have to come and haul away all these tires and fix the pool and fill it, or we're going to have to like fill the pool legitimately with like what you're supposed to fill it with to cover it up to make up the card. So, you know, I had no idea. So funny. We made our assessment. We put a contract together. And I went back to the care facility with my contract to get signed. And this is where we started running into problems closing the deal. So once basically once the staff got wind that we were purchasing her property, they basically stepped in and cock-blocked us. So they were like, she's not allowed to sign anything. And I'm like, what do you mean she's not allowed to sign anything? And again, I have no experience with this, so I don't know what the deal is or why. We found out later that it's for them could be a liability issue, right? So they don't want a family member coming out of the woodwork.
Right.
You let her sign this paperwork to sign away a property instead of letting the family handle it or whatever. And, you know, didn't matter that the only family she had was the one kid who's in jail and nobody else was alive. That didn't matter in this scenario. You know, they just go into that mode of all we are concerned about is liability. And so we then found out that also when someone gets put into a state facility like that, the first thing they do is, for whatever reason, confiscate their ID. So, so basically, you know, the staff kind of threatened us in a way. And they basically said to us, good luck getting a notary to do anything because we won't release her identification.
Wow.
Negotiating with the staff. And I said, look, this is the situation. This is the only asset that these people own, and it's worth money. And, you know, her son is in this position. She would like for him to have something when he gets out of jail, some money, because she can't provide him any money. Like, she doesn't have any money. If she had
Right.
money, in a way nicer facility. So she had no money to give him. And, you know, so I'm explaining this is what she says that she wants to do. She knows that she's not leaving here. She knows that she can't take over the property. There's no time for her son to take over the property. That we can't stop this until he gets out of jail. There's no other family. And by the way, you guys already know that because you did the same research we did. So
Mhm.
you already know she's got no other family members. So, you know, why are you saying that she can't sign this? Now, had I known, this was my first deal, had I known that it's illegal to impede the sale of real estate, perhaps we could have consulted our attorney on this, to see, you know, maybe if we could have gotten a little further. And being that
Yeah.
particular position with John and Paul, this was the first time that they'd had to work with someone in this particular type of facility. So they didn't understand the regulations either. We were all kind of learning how this all worked from the beginning. And so we didn't have the opportunity to do that. But you know, we made a wholehearted attempt. And to be honest, I felt really bad because, you know, she actually had some hope. You know, she felt like, okay, I've done something for my kid. He's not going to be like out on the street as soon as he gets out of jail. You know, and you know, then she would have gotten a little bit of something.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, to help each other out, and why the state or a facility like that wouldn't see that is it's beyond me sometimes. But
Yeah, they are real difficult to work with. So I can tell our audience from my experience that should you ever run into a situation like that, have an attorney on retainer.
yeah,
You're not going to be able to negotiate these people. I mean, now, like, I have my negotiation skills now are 1,000 times what they were at that point. And I
Mhm.
know that I could make quite a convincing argument, and I know a lot of the laws and a lot of the regulations now. But those kinds of facilities, they don't back down unless there's somebody who can take them to the cleaners legally. That's all they.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, because and there's a lot of things that once we find out that they are in some type of a facility, that you can prepare yourself with certain documentation so that you're able to do the things you need to do when you get in there.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, so, but we don't know that until we actually go through it. And there will be others as well, you know, as things, because the systems change also. So, yeah, that's unfortunate
Yeah,
for
so
her.
we never did get to close that deal. We didn't get to buy that property. Someone did buy it at auction and fix it up because we went and drove by it later, to see what happened. And you know, so I mean, it was a bummer. That was my first experience of feeling really bad that I had to let a seller down,
Hmm.
because we just didn't know what we were working with. And she understood. You know, the people at that facility were not her favorite people either. She really didn't want to be there. You know,
Yeah,
she understood what position she was in. And so she expressed her frustration to me that she understood it was them that, you know, got in the way, and that it wasn't anything that we could do, you know, to change it. So that did give me a little bit of relief, but the amount of guilt that I felt, you know,
oh, I'm sure.
tell her like they're not going to allow us to go through with this. um you know, that was a big bummer.
Yeah, because you build hope,
Yeah.
and in building hope, your hope, yeah, you're like, oh my gosh, you know, not only is this person going to do something great with, you know, with the transaction, we're also going to get a property, and I can get more experience. And
Yeah.
then somebody willingly comes and pulls the rug out of from under you, and you're thinking, now I have to be the one that steps up and says it's not going to happen. It's the worst feeling in the world.
It is.
I know some people are totally fine with it. I can't. I can't get over that. Like, the I know it's business. I get it, but it's really still very hard for me.
It is because with the sellers that we're working with that are in distress, you know, especially when it's something like this, like, you know, this lady couldn't have known that she was going to end up getting diagnosed with MS, and that she wasn't going to have anybody, you know, to help her out. And this is where she was going to end up. You know, it's not like she could have put something in place to stop all of that sort of snowball effect. from
Right.
happening. And, then I come in there all, I can make it better. And the worst situation that someone's in, the worse you tend to feel if you find out that there's like a legit roadblock that there's no way you can.
Right. Yeah.
So that was my first experience with that kind of situation. And,
Wow.
but on the other end of it, I also learned a ton.
A ton, I know.
So much about the process. I learned so much about, I learned about what kinds of things can get in your way from like a legal standpoint when you're contracting a property. I
Mhm.
learned a whole lot about what kind of qualifications your seller needs to have available in order for you to close the deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think a lot of people misconstrue the idea of wholesaling as though there are not like strong legal contracts involved. And I mean, people act like you bring somebody a bag of cash and go, here you go, can I have your property?
Yeah,
And that's how wholesaling works. And it's like,
right.
no, there's this. We had to do this whole entire process. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there are people out there who do it that way. But we were taught to do it right. We do everything through title. We always
Exactly.
have a clear title. We don't just buy a property. We don't have properties quit claim to us and give somebody a wad of cash. That's not the right way to do this business. And if anybody tells you it is, you should maybe consider a different mentor. I'm
I
saying.
know. That's what I was gonna say too is, so one of the other things, along with when I talk to new wholesalers, people who want to wholesale or door knock, um, and two things are: one, make sure that they only talk to you, that the seller doesn't talk to anybody else, and two, you have to work with title. Do not, and I especially say that they should only talk to you because, like Lisa said, there are those people that walk around with a bag of cash. There are those people that walk around with a bag of cash and they'll show it to you, or they'll write you a check right away and they'll give it to you. And that's all. I mean, awesome that they can do that, but the fact is that most of the time they don't pay what is supposed to be. That's illegal. You're not supposed to do that. It's supposed to go through title, and you have to follow a certain process for it to be a clean deal and nothing comes back to you. We've heard some horror stories. We can talk about at another time, but be very leery of somebody that's offering you money, period, in any kind of life circumstance.
Yeah. And it's crazy because a lot of sellers don't understand that when you're going through title, it protects both parties.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of don't get that.
Right.
Which is mind blowing to me, right? Because I'm like, well, why wouldn't you want to make sure that everything is on the up and up and you have like sort of this third party that's neutral, right? Or that's supposed to be neutral.
Yeah.
That's another conversation. But
Yep.
you have a third party that's supposed to be equally representing both sides and making sure that the transaction is done correctly and legally and cleanly, and I've come across a fair number of sellers that are skeptical about, why do you want to go through a title company? And it's like, this protects you as much as it protects us.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's
Absolutely.
there's so much to learn. I feel like every single deal is different. Every single deal plays out in a different way and is totally because there are so many moving parts. You've got whatever the seller's sort of distress or problem that you're trying to solve is, and you've got the seller's sort of attitude and disposition, and then you've got the neighborhood and the property, and there's just a million different things happening. And so it can be a little bit overwhelming in the beginning, learning to juggle all of that.
Yeah.
But you get better at it as time goes on.
Yeah.
And the similarities and the parallels start to make more sense as time goes on, and you kind of know what to expect.
Mhm.
This may have been the first drug house that I ever saw, but it certainly wasn't the last.
I know. I'm thinking about all the ones I've been. And yeah, you kind of wonder, like, does everybody do drugs? But it's just our world.
Yeah,
But there have been other houses that don't have anything to do with that too, though. So that are completely pristine and great. And those are some deals just because it's just clean. Everything's, there, organized. So yeah. So it'll be fun to talk about, for the next, if we say next episode or on this episode, I feel like the Fresh Prince. That song immediately comes into my head. Maybe that should be our theme song. Just kidding. But it'll be fun to talk about on the next episode on so like a really, really great deal.
Yeah.
Like that's happened.
Yeah. Those
There's
are
been a few, but
Yeah. Those are exciting ones because we come across a lot doing what we do that is tricky or difficult. And also we're juggling a lot of things because you're not really doing, once you get momentum going, right, we're not really doing one deal at a time. We're usually doing a few at a time. And when you're doing a few at a time, that means you're problem solving a few different things at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
When you do get those like really good deals, and there's different, am I right that there are different things that could make a good deal? Because a good deal isn't always necessarily a deal that you made the most money on.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So you bring up a good point. So we're going to have to define what a good deal, the type of a good deal, because and should it be a fix and flip project or just a wholesale? So we'll figure it out and we'll come back with that for the next time. And a big shout out to John Leister and Paul Romero because would not be here if it wasn't for those two.
Yeah, they taught us an awful lot. And I got to say that I've seen other people in our same industry hook up with mentors that were supposed to, teach them everything they needed to know. And they didn't always get taught really all of the details. And I have to say that, John is kind of this savant for absorbing information, especially about the legalities of how everything works so that we really know the ins and outs of how to do a difficult deal. And I haven't seen a lot of people that teach their mentees that in-depth of information. So I got to give John a shout out for allowing me to be a sponge and learn all of that information because we've been through some tricky deals and it's been nothing but a huge learning experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's still, when I hear him rattle off in the office about things and I'm thinking, how the hell did he know that? Or how did he, or figuring things out as we're going? It's really a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. It's good to have that kind of knowledge, learning experience, and making it fun in our industry because it can be extremely daunting and exhausting.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah. And for the new people out there, Angie and I have both been in the position, I would say individually and collectively, where we have wanted to just give up. We're like, why are we even doing this? Because sometimes it gets so stressful that it doesn't look like there's a solution to whatever problem that you're trying to manage. And really, that's not the case. It's just the fact that when you're doing what we do, you have to wear a lot of different hats. And it takes a while to learn the skill sets to effectively wear all the different hats. Like in the beginning, you're not going to be good at all of it. You're going to be really bad at some of it, and it's going to be frustrating, and you are going to feel like giving up. And if you can move through that to build the skills, and if you have resources available to you where the stuff that you're not great at, if you could tap into somebody else, that's good. That can either tell you how to do it or help you do it, and you cut them in on the deal. That's the way to go.
Absolutely.
You have to learn these things. as far as I'm concerned, if you want to be a good wholesaler that has a robust business where you get repeat business, and you can turn your wholesale business into being able to close on your own properties, whether you want them for rentals or whether you want to do fix and flip or whatever your like bigger picture idea is that you want to do. You know, wholesaling will get you to that point, but you got to learn all of these skills. And
Yeah.
so, you know, so it's tough, but be patient, you know, and learn from every single experience. Go back and look at it. I mean, I don't know how many times Angie and I have had to go back and look at something and go, wow, well, we'll never do this piece or this piece or this piece ever again. Like those were mistakes. But when we see it come up in a deal again, now we know what to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, and it doesn't, you keep learning though. I mean, there's still, I mean, right now I'm still going through that closing that I told you about.
The never ending closing.
I'm like, can we just close? Seriously? Like, what are we doing? Another whole like hour on the phone with those people this morning again. But, and then there's, you know, a variety of emails, and you just, like Lisa said, it's just patience throughout the whole thing. But in every single one of the transactions that you do learn, you keep learning something, and then you apply the different things that you've learned in the past. So it's good. It's a good thing.
It is. It is a good thing.
So for everybody out there, if you made it this far, $25 Amazon gift card for your first wholesale deal story posted to our page. So that's the How to Deal page. Post your first wholesale deal. The first person that 25 Amazon, everybody can use Amazon, $25. I know I can. And considering that everything is delivery right now still, so yeah, $5 is a cool thing. But it would be great to see some comments out there on the page and just kind of get just some discussions going and just, you know, meeting some other folks, whether you're here in Arizona or somewhere else. It would just be great to connect.
Yeah, we want to hear other people's stories. I think that's one of the most fun things about connecting with other real estate investors, because just when you thought that you maybe had the craziest deal that you've ever heard of, inevitably somebody else has a crazier deal that they can come and tell you about, and it's entertaining. And you know, and there's in it. So yeah, come and tell us about your deals. We would love to get some, you know, engagement going on the page, so that we can all get to know each other. And, you know, hopefully you'll want to come back and see more of our episodes of How to Deal.
Yeah. Very cool.
Awesome. So next time we're going to talk about our best deal. Correct?
Best deal.
So next deal, our best deal, and what that looked like and why it was our best deal. And I believe that's going to be coming up on Monday. And we will post a little flyer telling everybody what day and time. And so if you can catch it on the live, that would be awesome. And we encourage questions and comments in the live as well. And if you can't catch it on the live, then, you know, catch it on the replay. And I believe you can still put questions in. So we'll be checking periodically our prior episodes to see if anyone has posted questions in the follow-up, because we'll also be able to discuss those things in later episodes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So,
awesome. Yay.
All right. Well, thanks, Ange.
Thank you, Lisa. I guess I gotta get back. I gotta go run to the bank and make a deposit. Isn't that nice? A profit. Very good. Yes. So
good. Well, I keep my fingers crossed for your never-ending closing. Let's get that.
What am I never-ending? We should have a whole episode. The never-ending closings, like the never-ending story.
Yeah, we will. So I'm going to write that down on my list of episode ideas, because I do think we need to cover that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
At a later time, never-ending.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Facebook Land, for being with us. We will see you all soon. Everybody have an awesome weekend.
Yes, stay safe, stay healthy.
Yes.
Bye, guys.